Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Words from Behind the Desk, virtual edition. My computer showed me a big red something just then, so sorry my face was a little bit crazy. Guys, I am super excited that you are here to join us for a special conversation as always. My name is Vakai Rafai. I'm very happy that you're here. If this is your first time seeing us, thank you so much for stopping by. If you are a return viewer, guys, we appreciate your love and support so much. We appreciate you helping us give value and education to the community. If this is your first time, or if you're new, or if your first time, or if you've been here before, please like us, please share us, please comment, engage with us. We feed off of your energy, and we always appreciate your comments and your questions, and we will try to get through it to it in the show if we can. Rania, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Yes, we won't talk about that.
Yeah, between you and I.
Between me and you. So good. Oh my gosh, I'm very excited because we have somebody incredible today. Let me go ahead and give my little, juju introductions. First off, guys, this is Words from Behind the Desk, as always presented by Arwani Law Firm. Thank you, Arwani Law Firm. Okay, you may not know her name yet, but Patricia Sigman is bold, brave, and a fighter we need in the Florida State Senate, fighting for Florida workers, fighting for us. We are at a tipping point moment, and today we are talking to someone who sees that moment and has thrown herself headfirst into the race to fight for us. Patricia Sigman. Patricia, how are you doing today?
Hello, how are you?
Very good.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We're so happy that you are here. Let's go ahead and dive right in, because me and Rania have had a chance to have a conversation with you, and I think that you are just a complete rock star, and now you're one of my idols. I feel like, Rania, I'm just getting like a sea of idols that we're having on this show, which is just incredible. I know there's other people that feel the exact same way as I do.
Now, let me ask you, Vika, did I tell you that Patricia and I are good friends?
I think you have told me that.
Oh, I have? I'm just pushing it in your face again? Okay, never mind. Let's move on.
Patricia. Listen, she doesn't know what we have here. But for those in the community, Patricia, that don't know who you are, could you tell us a little bit about Patricia and your background in the community?
Sure, I'm happy to. I am Patricia Sigman. I am a mother, a small business owner, a voter protection leader, and a labor and employment civil rights lawyer. And so for the last 27 or so years, I've been standing up and fighting for people who've been mistreated because of their age, their race, their sex, their disability, their national origin, whistleblowers that were fired just for doing the right thing, people who've been sexually harassed or abused, people who are fighting for their unemployment benefits, people who weren't paid what they were promised, people who've suffered pay inequity, and so much more. And really through it all, what I've been doing is standing up for the people over the powerful. And that's why I'm now running for Florida Senate District 9, because really it's time our government put the people first, and that's what I'm going to do. In addition to my law practice, as I said, I'm a voter protection leader. I've been volunteering as a voter protection leader since 2004, since the John Kerry election, recruiting and training and organizing and leading lawyers in Seminole County to protect the vote, make sure that every eligible voter can cast their ballot and have it count. And then I've been working my law practice and raising my family and participating as a community volunteer in the public schools. And I'm just very excited at the opportunity to really serve in a whole new way and make sure that the people are put first in our government, because we clearly see with this COVID-19 crisis we've had, in a way that illuminates it even further, that we need good leadership and good laws and the people's voice in Tallahassee. And we haven't had that really for over 20 years. And so It's very important. It's a key pivotal moment. And I couldn't be more honored and energized to really stand up and, by your side, Vakai, by Rania's side, by the side of all the the strong women and men and people of this state who know that we've got to put the people first and just fight that good fight. And so here we go.
Oh, I love it.
It's the time. Now is the time.
Patricia.
So Patricia, let me ask you, when elected, what will your duties be?
The Florida Senate is a body of 40 people elected from across the state, and this will be Senate District 9 that I am running for. And I will be serving all of the people of Seminole County as well as people in a part of Southwest Volusia County as their representative in the Florida Senate. And as I said, there are 40 Florida senators. Right now, there are 17 Democrats and the rest are Republicans. We believe that as Democrats, we will pick up at least 2 of those seats, and we will have 19 going into this session. And so what we do as senators is legislation, is changing and making laws. And then there are various additional duties as well. And one of the big things that the Florida Senate will be doing is leading the redistricting that will be coming up after this census. And it's a very important time. I know many people may remember the fair districts fight that we had, and the people of this state overwhelmingly did vote for fair districts. And that means no gerrymandering. That means having districts that are fairly representing the people and allowing the people's voice to be heard and not gerrymandering them on a partisan basis. And after those amendments were passed, what happened was there was litigation because there was still gerrymandering. And the League of Women Voters, which is a nonpartisan organization, took up the mantle of litigation. And in 2016, actually, led by one of our local lawyers here, David King's law firm, the fair districts litigation was settled. And that was in 2016. And with that settlement and those fair districts, we as Democrats have made tremendous strides. We have now really increased our representation in both the Senate and the House in Florida. And what most people don't realize is the redistricting by the Florida Senate also covers all of our United States congressional seats throughout the state. So it's a very important time because coming out of the census, we could have 30 to 32 congressional seats in this state. And it's important that we have nonpartisan districts that are not gerrymandered, that are just fair districts. So there's, we make laws in the Senate, we amend laws, and we do redistricting, we do some additional duties. Essentially, the Florida senators serve in a part-time capacity, though it's clearly for me will be much, much more than a part-time job. I intend to be 110%. And there's a 2-month session and sometimes some special sessions up in Tallahassee. And I will be giving it my all and making sure that the people of this district have very strong representation every day. And I plan to do a monthly Zoom meeting now that we've all learned Zoom, to do a monthly Zoom town hall meeting with the people of Senate District 9 to hear their concerns and talk with them. I think we've learned that Zoom is a really great opportunity, and some of these other platforms where we can do that. So I'm really excited to take my skills from representing and fighting for clients all these years and representing and fighting for the community in my volunteer work and amplify that up to really give voice to the people in Tallahassee. So that's what the job is all about.
I think that it is incredible. Having a conversation with you, I think, was one of the first times that I myself learned just how important. I mean, besides COVID and everything, we've been able to see how important it is on a local level to vote because we see how it trickles down, or if anything, how it trickles up, and I think that we're trying to figure out a way to have things trickle up more. And I know that us as a people voting, I would consider that when we win a bill or when we win something as a people, that's the end of it. But it's really in your hands whether or not what we say, what we want, what we are calling for as a community actually gets pushed through, right?
Mm-hmm. The legislators that are elected to the Florida House and the Florida Senate are sent there by the voters of their district. And when they cast their vote on any legislation, on any hearing, on any work that they do, They are supposed to be representing the will and voice of the voters that they represent. Now, that hasn't always actually happened, and that's been part of the problem. So we've had a lot of legislators up in Tallahassee that for very long have been really representing the voice of the powerful, of special interests that have a lot of lobbyists, of things like that, instead of the people and putting the people first. And it sounds like a simple thing to say, but it really makes a difference. I mean, we'll talk a little bit more, I'm sure, about the unemployment system, but it's a perfect example.
That's our next question.
We can see it's an example of people weren't put first, right? So when the chips were down and people needed those benefits, they haven't been there. That system has failed them because it wasn't designed with caring and loving for the people in mind. It wasn't designed to serve the people. And that's why we have to make legislators, we have to send legislators to Tallahassee who are going to make sure that we're looking at what are we doing for the people? What are we doing to put people first and to serve those voices? Because that's what a representative is. And that's what a senator should do. And I fully intend to be the people's voice.
Mic drop. That's all I have to say. I think you kind of answered my next question, which let's talk about the Florida broken unemployment system. And I think that knowing that we have to start locally within our voting for it to be able to trickle up so that we don't have a system that is considered or can be considered broken. Is there anything else that you can speak on as regards to that topic specifically?
Absolutely. There is so much that needs to be done to fix this unemployment system. There are several parts to it. One, the benefits need to be higher. We are in the lower, some of the lowest in the country. We need to be, as a robust economy, we need to be towards the top, at the top or towards the top of that at least. I'd like to see Florida be a leader. I mean, we have a service industry here. We need to be a leader for things like unemployment benefits. So we need more benefits per week and more benefits per month. We need more weeks because in 2011, the Republican opponent who I will be running against in the general election actually voted for the broken system in 2011 when he was in the Florida House. But in that legislation in 2011, where they really gutted out the unemployment system, and it wasn't great before. They cut back the weeks. They cut down the amount, therefore, the total benefits you could get by cutting back the weeks. They took away the presumption that was always there in the past, where it presumed a person was entitled to benefits. So when we file an unemployment appeal when someone was denied, we used to be able to rely on that presumption, and the employer had to show that we were not entitled to the benefits. Well, they took that away. They took away all of the one-stop centers and the in-person service centers that people used to be able to go to for help in getting their benefits. And they put the entire thing online and sent all the calls to this call center that nobody answers the phones, or if they do, they don't know the answers to your questions or can't do anything to help you. So we took away all that human assistance that people used to have to be able to just take all these papers and all this information you have when you get fired and just go and walk into a local office that deals with unemployment and throw these papers down on the counter and say, help me, I got fired, I need to file for unemployment, I don't know what I need to do next, I don't understand how to make sense of all this, and get help from people. Because we know, I know so much after 27 years of representing people who've been fired from their jobs, that when you get fired from your job, it is a kick in the gut for most people. It is hard to get up out of bed and put one foot in front of the other and put a smile on your face and go through the day. And yet people need to get up and do that and then go try to find a job and try to do job interviews and resumes and all the kinds of things that happen when you're fired that you need to do. And unfortunately, adding to that, this terrible computer system that doesn't work and no way to get help and a call center that doesn't answer your calls, it's just cruel, really. It's just too much. And people need help when they're on when they've lost their jobs. And then, so we need to be putting people to work, helping other people with their unemployment. And we can do that. We can bring back and improve upon what we used to have with those one-stop centers. And they had their own problems, but we can really redesign this system from the ground up to be the safety net it was supposed to be, to be the public service it was supposed to be. When it benefits everyone. When you put money in somebody's pocket that they have for unemployment benefits because they're looking for a job, what can they do? They can go buy some groceries. They can pay their rent. They can pay for childcare so they can go to a job interview. They can do the basic things that people have to do to live and to keep going and to get themselves back on their feet. And really, we just have to put the system, we have to reinvent this system in a way that's even better than it was before 2011.
Right.
And especially during COVID, I mean, our issues are amplified 100%, 200%. It's so bad right now, and what Florida as a whole is going through.
That's right. Yeah, and I think in times like this, we also need to set up for the unemployment system like a special pandemic or special crisis fund, so that when things like this happen, that we have a fund that is ready to begin to mete out any additional benefits that people need and things like that. Because we can't, just be figuring that stuff out when a crisis happens. We need to be planning for it and funding for that over the years so that fund is there. It's just like saving for a rainy day, and we need to be doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Patricia, let me ask you, what is the first thing that you are going to do when you get elected?
So the first thing that I'm going to do is right away, I want to have big town halls and start listening even more to as many of our constituents as possible, and say to them, I am your state senator now. I want to know what you're concerned about. And, I'm doing that during my campaign, and I'm talking to people constantly, but I do think that once you're actually their senator, that there's even more that they want to share. So I want to make sure that we're immediately starting those Zoom town halls and encouraging people to speak out. Tell me what you're concerned about. Tell me what you've been experiencing. Tell me what the problems are that you've had with any, prior times that you're seeking input from your representatives, and what you want to see. And then take that voice and take that fight and go up to the Florida Senate and prioritize the people first. And we'll talk about the specific policies in a moment, but the entire theme of it is listening and learning and being open to what the constituents you represent are saying. And then, just like we do as lawyers, internalizing and hearing all of that and making the case up at the Florida Senate for why those things that they need to be given life. And so that's really an extension of the kind of work I do as a lawyer. Listen to the client's case, research it, understand it, investigate it, and then take that case and advocate for it. And that's really what I want to do in the Florida Senate, is advocate for the case of the people.
That's incredible. I think that the fact that you've taken that responsibility on as a task that you see is needed to be taken on, I think is incredible as a human being. So I appreciate you deciding and choosing to speak for us, and I know that unemployment is one of the top priorities that you have. I know that there is a slew of them. Because I know that there's a lot of things in our system that, could use a little Patricia Sigman. Could you tell us a little bit more about what other top priorities for specific areas that need legislation?
Absolutely. So let's talk about healthcare, education, the environment, and gun violence prevention, just as 4 of the top priorities. Healthcare, we need to expand Medicaid. Right now, and this should have been done long ago, and the fact that it hasn't been done is just awful. It is an economic no-brainer for everyone in Florida, and especially now coming out of COVID-19. Medicaid expansion will bring about $14.3 billion with a B dollars into Florida's economy over 5 years at a cost of only about $500 million. Okay, so it is a great bargain, and it brings a tremendous amount of revenue into our state from federal tax dollars that we are literally just giving up and not taking because we haven't taken Medicaid expansion. The other thing that it does is it creates thousands of good paying healthcare jobs throughout our state because it insures close to 850,000 more people than we currently have insured. And with all those additional, nearly 1 million additional people insured, what does that do? Well, more people have access to health care and can afford health care. And so when they go to a hospital and they get care, the hospital doesn't have to, write that off and absorb the bill for someone who's uninsured and then pass the cost along. And therefore, it causes us to have higher premiums for everyone who is insured. So having the Medicaid expansion actually helps to stabilize and reduce the insurance premiums for everybody who has insurance. I mean, the benefits of expanding Medicaid go on and on economically, but let me just say that from a human standpoint, it's a moral imperative. We need to take care of each other. And this is something that the federal government has the money sitting at the ready for us to do. And we have to take that opportunity to care for each other. And, I feel like we have to put a heart and soul up in Tallahassee and fight for the things that are really so important. I mean, how can we just leave people uninsured when we have every ability to get it done? So that's healthcare. When it comes to education, we have a public education system that it has billions of dollars flowing out of it into for-profit schools and that are essentially not public schools. They don't have to adhere to the same standards, and they get a lot of our public school dollars that are supposed to be in the public schools. And an example of that is what they call the PICO dollars. When a charter school gets built, the PICO dollars essentially can pay for the land and to purchase the building and to build that building for the charter school. If that charter school closes a couple of years later because it wasn't doing a good job and it failed the kids and it closes, guess what? The corporation that owns that building from the PICO dollars gets to keep it for free.
Wow.
That is like just a huge, huge problem as I see it, because it is just wrong. Those dollars should be, spent on the students in our public school system.
Yes.
So we have educators who give their heart and soul to these kids in the schools every day. They need to be paid more across the board, not only new teachers, not only teachers, but educators across the board, and support personnel and bus drivers and people who work in custodial and people who work the services of the school. We need across the board pay increases. So it's an attractive place to attract the best and brightest. And not only that, but we have the best and brightest in many cases, but we need to make their energy just so positive to know that they're valued. Why should a school teacher be spending, having to take a second or a third job just to pay the rent when he or she already works full time as a public school teacher? It's awful, right? And why should school teachers who already don't make enough money have to go and take out of their pocket to go buy supplies for the classroom because they don't have all the funding that they need? It's just not acceptable. So we need to invest in our public schools in a way that we have not been doing. And on that subject, I mean, I could go on all day about it, but let me just add one more piece, which is that the lottery money was supposed to be extra or supplemental money for our public schools. But instead, what the legislature has been doing has been basically using the lottery money as a substitute for the funding that should have otherwise been there. So instead of being extra, now it's decreasing the funding that's in the schools, and it's completely wrong. It's not what the people voted for. It's not what it was supposed to be. And we need to claw back all of what's supposed to be in our public school budget and then put it to good use, and then figure out additional ways to even fund the public schools further. I mean, it's the future of our nation, our future leaders, our future business owners, our future lawyers and doctors and athletes and actors and everybody that was is going to be a part of it, everyone and people who are working in every industry, right? We need everybody to have the best education they can have so they can have the best opportunities that they can have. And that's what public school is supposed to be. So I just really feel passionately about the need to fund our public schools in the way that they should be prioritized for the future of our state. And so that's healthcare and education. Now we can talk about the environment, which is so important, right? We have to combat climate change. Climate change is real, and we can do something about it. And we as a state need to prioritize that. We need to create, prioritize renewable energy and converting to solar as much and as quickly as possible. We need to grow jobs in that industry, by creating great paying jobs in the solar industry and in renewable energy. So we can do those things. I mean, we see we've got to do something about keeping our water clean. I mean, we have our groundwater is getting polluted by things that are flowing into it, and that is showing up in springs that are having algae blooms, and our coast having algae blooms too from runoff. And we need to preserve and protect our natural treasures. I mean, we're the state of Florida. We're the Sunshine State where people want to come and have a beautiful place to be, right? We can't have dirty, polluted water that you can't swim in. And that's just from an aesthetic standpoint. I mean, we need to be able to drink our water, right? We need to have springs and this beauty. This is what we owe to future generations. And the idea that hasn't been prioritized it's just a tragedy. We have the people of Florida voted years ago for Amendment 1, which is supposed to have millions and millions of dollars a year that are just for purchasing and protecting environmentally important lands throughout Florida. And that's been way underfunded, and that money has been rated for other things, and that cannot be. That's supposed to be a dedicated trust fund for preserving and protecting lands. And here in Seminole County, we've got to protect the rural boundary, which is so important for people. And we voted for it in a charter amendment. And again, now it's under attack. So again, the environment is just, we share this earth, we share this state, and we have to treat it like the important permanent treasure that it is and keep it safe, be good stewards. And then gun violence prevention. We are here so close to where Pulse happened, right?
You're right. Yeah.
We know the tragedy of gun violence, and yet our state legislature has failed over and over again and refused to take action to prevent gun violence. And we can do such simple things that we should have done a long time ago, like universal background checks, making sure that people have to have background checks. So simple. My dog is making noise, so she's trying to get my attention. That's okay. That's good. If you do, she's very sweet. She just wants some of mom's attention. And we need to have universal background checks. We need to be sure that people who are buying guns are getting background checks. And right now there are so many people talk about just the idea of the gun show loophole. It is not just a gun show loophole. It is a loophole for all private party selling. Right. And that happens in so many ways. And people can just buy a gun directly from any private party. And that private party doesn't even necessarily need a license because they're just selling their own guns, and nobody does a background check. And people who are, intend to go and do great harm can get their hands on guns that way. And it's very important that we have universal background checks. I mean, we need to ban these weapons of war from being sold to people here. We need to limit severely these magazine sizes and make sure that people can't get these high capacity magazine sizes to go in and do damage. There are so many things we can do that are just common sense, important, and can do so much. If you think about it's so heartbreaking that we make our school children have to do active shooter drills and hide under desks and in closets and be scared. And that's an awful thing that we have to do to keep kids safe. But there are so many other things that we could do to keep kids safe that don't require the kids to have that on their hearts and in their history as they grow up. And it just breaks my heart that kids are going to have to grow up feeling that insecurity and feeling that distress. it's awful. And so, we can do so much more by way of technology and gun violence prevention instead of putting the burden on the children. Let's take responsibility as adults and fix this problem right. Yeah.
That's good.
That's just an example of some of the things that we need to be doing.
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty it makes sense that these things are not I feel like that's what we're always constantly always fighting for. And I thought that everybody is on the same page, but then I hear you and Patricia is going for everything that I thought was already on the to-do list years ago.
Well, and I mean, I want to make sure everybody knows too that very important to me is, equality and fixing our criminal justice system and making sure that people are treated equally and truly getting equal justice in that system. There are so many parts of it from beginning to end that need a lot of work. And I've been talking with former judges and folks who've been really intimately involved in the criminal justice system and gathering as much information and as many ideas and as many insights as possible. I mean, implicit bias is something we know about in employment law. And as an employment discrimination lawyer, I've taken courses on, implicit bias. I've attended lectures on implicit bias and taken the quizzes, the inventory quizzes you take to check, implicit bias. And the reality is everyone has their own implicit biases. And we've got to figure out how to address those in our system, in our criminal justice system, in our civil justice system, in our society. And we can do better. We just have to care and attend to it and do it.
Mm-hmm. Patricia, I hear it in your voice. You are so passionate. And this is not the first time. I've had conversations with you in the past, and I feel your passion, not just I hear you. You're so passionate in everything you're doing, and you want to make a change. You want to be the voice of the people moving forward to Tallahassee. Mm-hmm. And that brings me to my question. So you talked about how you're going to go up to Tallahassee and fight for us and get everything that, that we deserve. And when it comes to unemployment, when it comes to gun control and what have you. So talk to me about how your past is going to prepare you for taking on that huge role and getting us what we deserve.
Absolutely. And I think that as a lawyer representing clients, for the last 27 years, I've been fighting for my clients and fighting for these the justice that they need for so long that it's just a natural extension for me of what I've been doing. And, we're a small firm, just a 2-person law firm. And very often my cases are against a big firm that has a lot more lawyers and has a lot more resources. But we do the work and we put in the work and we work hard and we do it smart and we stay focused. And, we can take on these things that seem just monumental just by really, really committing and attending to them and having a good strategy and having a good approach and making the case well. So I think it's all of that has helped prepare me, as well as I am a trained mediator. I am a civil mediator as well. And I think that there is some negotiation and some negotiation type strategies that need to be able to be employed so that you can get people to vote for your bills and do what you need to be done. And then I'm also, for so long, I've been a voter protection leader. So I have been, just working from the voter protection standpoint, advocating for the voters' rights against or to the supervisor of elections office and watching out for what's happening in the election system and making sure that we're keeping an eye on things and bringing things to the attention of the supervisor of elections that they might not know so that they can fix them. And I've been very effective at that over the years, bringing things to their attention and getting them corrected so that, right on the spot, we're making change and the election is going the way it's supposed to by way of the procedures and following the laws. And so really all of those things, all those experiences, as well as, being a mom of 3, my kids are all grown now and in their 20s. but being a mom and juggling the life of mom and the life of lawyer and the life of volunteer and the life of wife and all of those things,
And
that. Yeah, just like you all do as well. I mean, I know you're juggling every day, and so many women and so many people juggling every day, right? It's what we do, and I feel like that's a skill that does serve us well for going up to the legislature, because I've had times in my life where I was practicing law full time and had 3 little kids at the same time and was volunteering at the same time, and at that time also helping my elderly parents, right? So I've done those big multitask times in my life, and I know that I can do this well and take all those years of experience and skills, not only with multitasking, but advocacy and making the case, and just ball it all up and go up there to the Florida Senate and bring it forward, make the case on the floor, make the arguments on the floor in session, and be clear and passionate about what we need to do and why we need to do it, and get people on board, which is really a lot of what we do as advocates as well. So I feel like it's a really good fit. Is it a scary idea to run for office? Of course it is. I think if anybody tells you it's not a scary thing to do, they're not telling you the truth. But the way I look at it is that, first of all, if we're not scaring ourselves a little, then we're not growing. And second of all, you got to ball up all that fear, ball up any of that kind of anxiety that comes with thinking about taking on something new, and ball it up and turn it into fuel and go up there and do the job. And it is just, it is what people and women across this country do every day. And I just, feel very honored, really, to even have the opportunity to go do this work, because it is truly, to me, it's a service that needs to be done for the people, and to have the ability to do it, I think, is a real honor.
I appreciate so much you saying that, Patricia, because I know that there's viewers, and I know that there's people who watch our web series, and they question whether or not, how does that person, like, how are you, what makes you different? And the only thing that makes you different is the fact that you chose and decided and then did, put yourself in the race. And so I think that is incredible. And I love that everyone got a chance to hear you say that, because everybody, I mean, our viewers are listening. She's human just like us. And she advocates fiercely for us because she's a human. She knows the real things that are priority to us in life, just simple life. But I know, Patricia, that there's so many things that you have that you want to fight for. And I know that, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot to do everything it is that you plan on doing and speaking on our behalf. But if there was one thing only that you could do with your position, what would it be?
I think that it really goes back to making sure that the people are put first in what we do up there. It's got to be that. It's got to be that, because that is the key that turns the lock to everything. If we make rules and laws from our values, and if our values are that the people are important and that the people need to be put first, and their interests need to be put ahead of big corporate interests and ahead of big special interests, then from there, when we're making that case and we're communicating that, then all of the other pieces and parts, we can put in place. And so that includes just stopping all the money that's flowing out of these trust funds that are supposed to be for special things that are being raided. And one good example is the Sadowski Affordable Housing Fund, right? And people, there's this huge fund that is supposed to be there to provide and support affordable housing, and it's called the Sadowski Affordable Housing Fund. Well, it's a trust fund, and what happens almost every year is our legislature under the current leadership has been raiding that fund, taking the money and using it for other things that are not affordable housing. And that's something that people, that it's wrong, right? It's not putting the people first. And if you think about it, coming out of COVID-19 here, we're going to have to do a lot to take care of people to get them through it. And then as we try to rebuild economically, we've got to make sure that we've got affordable housing. I mean, we've got huge growth here in Central Florida, and we can't grow if people can't live here. So we need to, putting the people first, the value of that putting that value prioritization in place is it's got to be the number one thing that it overarches everything.
I love that.
I mean, think about it. If you put people first, everything else will fall in place.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Everything
That's right.
will just fall in place because that's what it is. You're advocating for the people. You're doing it for the people. You're not doing it for the special interest. You're not doing it for the big firms or the big companies or the corporations. You're just doing it for the people of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And when the people do well, the economy does well. When the people do well, everybody does well. It's if people have money in their pocket and a living wage, and yes, we need to pass the fight for 15, and we need at least a $15 minimum wage in the state, and it will be on the ballot. And I'm going to vote for it, and I hope everyone else does. I think it will pass. I mean, when people have health care and they have education and they have a living wage and they have a hope and the opportunities that come from putting the people first, then all of our economy benefits. They go to the grocery store and they buy food and they buy housing and they buy childcare and they buy health care and they put money into the economy. They start small businesses and they all of these things that people do when they're thriving. And we need people who are thriving, and it's our job to make that happen. And it's not that it all makes the big picture work. When the people thrive, the economy will thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So Patricia, talk to me about what change is needed in Tallahassee. In your opinion, what is needed right now?
Right now, what we need in Tallahassee is initially balance. Because we've been talking about putting the people first, but the problem is we haven't had the balance of we've had one party rule really solidly for over 20 years now in Tallahassee. So we have right now, a legislature, both the House and the Senate, that are Republican controlled. We have the governor's mansion, Republican controlled. We have no balance. And when you don't have balance, what do you have? You can have what we have right now, which is a real pay-to-play system. There's no real accountability when you don't have balance. We know as litigators, and Rania, as a lawyer, when you have two worthy, advocates who are doing their job well, and they're both doing their case well against each other, they are holding each other accountable. Yeah. They are bringing out and requiring the best of each other and holding each other accountable in a way that doesn't happen when you don't have that balance. And so it's just so important. And by, when we pick up this seat, District 9, and one in Miami, which is District 39, where my friend Javier Fernandez is running, we'll have 19 Democrats, and there'll be 21 Republicans and 19 Democrats. And that will get us very much towards balance. If you watched at all what happened in Virginia, in Virginia, now they have flipped both of their legislative chambers blue. But when they got close, before they flipped those chambers, they got Medicaid expansion. And the reason for that was because the other party knew that they were coming. Right. And they knew that the people were putting Democrats in office because they wanted these things. So it put pressure on some Republicans in the legislature there to vote for Medicaid expansion, because they knew, okay, this is what people are demanding. That's why they're putting more Democrats in office. Right. So we can make change even before we get to parity, even before we get to 20 of each party in the Florida Senate. We can make change just by showing the change that's there and showing the change that's coming. We can be very effective at 19. It's also a possibility that we could end up with 20 or 21, but right now we know that the two most likely flips are Senate 9 and Senate 39, and so I'm focused on that. But we know and we're prepared to be very effective at 19, and I think that there's a whole different way that governance will happen when there's balance up there, and being able to put the people first really does require that we can be we can get things done, we can get laws passed, we can get laws changed, and we really need ultimately to flip the floor to Senate, and I believe with holding on to fair districts, we'll also within the next couple of years probably flip the floor to House as well, and for the first time in 20 years restore some balance there. So it's just very important. In order to put the people first, we've got to put the people's voices and people who care about the same values in office, and that's what we're working to do.
Patricia, you are so tenacious.
Yes,
that is the word I'm gonna use. You are so tenacious, and if there is anyone that is gonna fight and get the laws that we need passed, it's gonna be. So
well, that's very good of you. I appreciate that so much. And both of you, by the way, are really awesome and quite tenacious. And I just want to say, I have watched Bakai at the Brave Conference, and I was wowed. And I have watched Rania, not only what she's done as a lawyer and building her amazing practice, but her speaking at Brave and elsewhere. That's just amazing. And please, you guys are fantastic.
I love you, Patricia. And for everybody else out there, I know that I was starting with August 18th is the day, but no. August 18th is the last day. We are at a pivotal moment in our state, in our life right now, where we understand, there we go, that we understand that we want to trickle up. We want our voice to trickle up the totem pole, and Patricia Sigman is one of the ones that is going to do it, as she is running for Florida State Senate, for State Senate District 8.
Nice.
Patricia, I know that there is so much that we talked about, and I know that you gave us an incredible in-depth to who you are, and I've loved that so much. And I know that August 18th is important for you. Pushing forward, there's more dates that are important to you, but if there's one thing that you could communicate to the voters, what is one thing that you just want to say to voters considering or thinking or trying to figure out why it's important to vote?
Sure, absolutely. Your vote is your voice, right? When we vote, we win. So I encourage everybody to vote in not only in the primary August 18th, but also in the November election. We need to vote. We need to show up, and how we show up for each other is we vote. And then we do our research, and we make sure we're putting people in office who are going to fight for us. There was a fantastic column by Scott Maxwell in the Orlando Sentinel this weekend about my race and about the importance of it, and about some of the things that have been done in this race. And I would encourage folks to read Scott Maxwell's column from this Sunday's paper. I think that people need to know that if you have questions about the candidate, if you have questions about me, call me, email me. I'm accessible. I want to be your senator. So I'm not somebody who you're just going to see on paper once in a while. I want to interact with you. I want to hear you. I want to speak to you. I want to know what you're dealing with and what you care about, because that's how I represent people as clients, and that's how I want to represent people in the Senate. So please, reach out. My website is patriciasigman.com. My social media is at Sigman for Senate on Facebook, and just reach out and email me. You can email me at patricia@patriciasigman.com, and I'll be happy to talk with you and listen to you and hear you. And every day I'm learning more and more about all the issues and concerns that people have, and I want to hear. So what I want you to know is that I want to put you first. I want to fight for you. I'm ready to do it on day one. I am endorsed by the Orlando Sentinel strongly for this primary, and I am ready to win and ready to go on to November and win this seat. and get up there to Tallahassee immediately and start working, because it can't happen fast enough. I mean, people right now need help. So I'm just anxious every day to get this done and get up there and get sworn in and start doing the work, because that's what I do.
Woo. Woo. Sorry. Woo. Mic drop. Everyone, that is Patricia Sigman. We may have started out with you not knowing who she was, but by the end of this series, you now know exactly who she is. If you guys are seeking any more information, or if you just want to do your own research, you can visit patriciasigman.com, which is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And Patricia, we appreciate so much your time. We know you have a bazillion things to do. And so we appreciate you taking the time just to talk to us, to talk to the community, for allowing us to ask you some questions and allow the community, your community, to get to know you more. So we appreciate your time, and we just do want to say thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, and just having the opportunity to answer these questions and to see you guys. It's great.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you for everything, and you will win. And I'm going to call you, and I'm going to say, "See, I told you you're going to win." And you're going to invite me for coffee, Bakaya and I, to celebrate.
Is it going to be a Zoom coffee?
Yes.
Zoom coffee. Zoom coffee to celebrate safely.
We'll meet here at a different date. We'll have some coffee or some hot chocolate or some tea, whichever, guys.
I look forward to coming back as a senator and talking with you about what we're doing and what we're accomplishing, and giving you the updates on how it's going.
Yeah, it's going to be
freaking
and I can't wait.
You guys heard it here first. We will soon be talking to her again. Thank you all so much for joining us on this series of Words from Behind the Desk presented by Arwani Law Firm. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, you can always email us at manager@arwanilawfirm.com. And we will be back here again on Wednesday. We have a very special town hall happening at 6:30 p.m. So please make sure that you go to Arwani Law Firm page on Facebook and go ahead and set a reminder, because we will be back here again on Wednesday. That's right. You get to see our face twice this week. Patricia, again, I appreciate you coming on here. Rania, it's always a pleasure to see your face. And guys, we will see you on Wednesday.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.